When you're naming acid, ask the following questions. But first of all, you have to recognize something is an acid. So how do we know if something is an acid? It will contain hydrogen ion, so the chemical formula will start with H, as shown here. And also the physical state will be in aqueous. In other words, the acid is dissolved in water. Alright, so once you know it's an acid, again, start with H, it has aqueous state. You want to ask, does the anion contain oxygen? If the answer is no, you're going to name it this way. Okay, so if you look here, for example, HCl, anion is Cl here. It doesn't have oxygen. None of these does. So how do we name those? You're going to name them as hydro, anion root acid. So first one, for example, you're going to name that as hydrochloric acid. Second one is going to be hydrobromic acid. Third one is hydroiodic acid. And lastly, hydrofluoric acid. So once you recognize it's an acid and it doesn't contain oxygen, that means the anion is from periodic table. And usually the anions come from group 17 and 16. All these examples, the anions is from 17. Now, what if it's an acid and contains oxygen? What does it mean? That means the anion comes from polyatomic ion. For example, if you look at H2SO3, and it's going to be AQ, it's an acid. Start with H, it's an aqueous state. So in this case, when the anion has oxygen in it, you need to go and look up the polyatomic ion, the name of polyatomic ion. NO3 is right here, and it's called sulfite. So it has ITE ending. So if the anion ends with ITE, you're going to name it as us acid. So this one, you're going to say sulfurous acid. Now, H2SO4 also contains oxygen. So that means you have to look up SO4, which is called sulfate. Now, notice the ending is 8. In that case, you're going to name that as ic acid. So this one, you're going to say sulfuric acid. So anytime you're dealing with the polyatomic ion, with the acid, you will just either name it as us acid or ic acid, depends on the ending of polyatomic ions. If anything start with hydro something ic acid, that means the anions comes from periodic table.